Lazarus is the latest project bestowed upon us by the patron saint of cool and good vibes, Shinichiro Watanabe. If you don't know Big Homie by the name, I guarantee you know him by his work, being the one that's responsible for Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo. Fellow's artistic imprint is undeniable. In the same way that you know a Toriyama work the moment you see it, you will immediately know a Shinichiro Watanabe anime when it's on. The setting that feels like it takes place in a post-cyberpunk Chicago, every character having moderate seasonal depression, the soundtrack that sounds like it was taken straight from God's Spotify rap. That right there, homies, is the Watanabe touch. And while it's far too early to know whether Lazarus will be able to fly in the shadows of his legendary Blues Brothers, I at the very least wanted to speak on the first episode because this series makes a hell of a first impression. So the anime starts off letting us know that the year is 20XX and the whole planet is off that fence. Alright, let me stop. Society's actually reeling from the introduction of the drug Hopna into regular circulation. Now your therapist will tell you that there's no such thing as a pill that can fix everything, but clearly that quack hasn't ever tried Hopna after a couple of Red Bulls. Word on the street is Hopna can do anything. You can fix your depression, help you go to sleep, clear up the clap, pay your child support. Hopna can do it all and with zero side effects on top. The drug was created by Dr. Skinner, said to be a love child of Albert Einstein and an angel. Fella's philanthropy knows no bounds. Big Homie won the Nobel Peace Prize so many times to stop even being worth talking about and donated the proceeds each time he won. But we'll soon learn that the good doctor was a bit more complicated than the population realized here in a few moments. The scene switches up and we get ASAP Rock pulling up Alexa and telling her to play him some of that insane man who sold his soul to the devil type beat.
悪魔に魂を売っちまった男みたいなそんな曲を頼む
Homie, I'm epic, don't be a wap dog, it's a yarmulke, homie, no cap.
She obliges and we're taken to Bebop State Penitentiary, where we get a glimpse of Simone Biles' son getting some cardio in before he's told by a guard he has a visitor. Officer Amanda Waller pulls up to the table and lets the young fella know that she ain't here for a conjugal visit. She has a proposition for the young lad and she thinks he's gonna have a hard time refusing.
You know the deal. Successfully complete the mission, you get 10 years off your sentence. You fail to follow my orders in any way, and I detonate the explosive device in the base of your skull.
The young fella, clearly skeptical, laughs off the statement immediately, letting her know that he's going to call cap on that right now, because if she's got the cojones to be making an offer like that to his face, she clearly doesn't know how long he's got in this place. Amanda lets him know real fast that she already knows that his legal team will have an easier time getting Diddy, R. Kelly, and Epstein's ghost on parole than trying to help him beat his case, but she's built different. But before they negotiate, she needs to get him up on the news because she knows they got his ass rotting under the jail at this point. Our boy Take K starts watching the program and is in shock. Turns out Dr. Skinner, the man responsible for putting Hopna out in the streets, has just revealed that every batch of that nonsense was laced. Dr. Skinner is the most devious plug ever and finessed the game on an international level. Everybody that's taken Hopna is now on the clock. His miracle drug is going to catch his first body in the next month. Anybody who has ever taken Hopna before is on borrowed time, and the way that drug made its rounds ain't a soul alive making it out clean. Dr. Escobar over here decided that he's had enough of humanity's sinful ways. The world has become a musty quagmire of instant gratification and conflict, and it was time to return God's creation to its default state. But he wouldn't be serving as the judge, jury, and executioner, just the seventh trumpeter, the indicator that the final hour was fast approaching. He left one option to avoid utter destruction, find him before 30 days was up and he would lay the Hopna apocalypse to rest. Old Goldie Roger looking boy on his One Piece timing. But this reference to the seventh trumpeter is like the third Judeo-Christian reference we got in like the first 6 minutes of this anime, and I'm super curious how much thematic relevance these name drops are going to have, or if it's just for the fashion like it was in Ava. I ain't mad either way, honestly, really just curious, because if memory serves, the seventh trumpeter is the harbinger of the end times, right, where the old world ends and God's new kingdom comes through and gentrifies our ghetto asses out of here. Then you had ASAP's earlier reference of looking for a selling your soul type beat for him to freestyle over. Then there's the name of the anime itself, Lazarus, with Lazarus in the Bible being a favorite homie of Jesus who died from illness, whose death preceded the now famous line of Jesus wept and was reported to have been raised from the dead by Jesus himself shortly after. Getting back to the series though, State Property Coon finished watching the clip and was asked again about getting out, decided he had a change of plans. Fella reminded her that since she knows so much, she should know that they gave him infinity years for one main reason. He's got a bad habit of breaking out of jail. And so begins one of the wildest showcases of animation I've seen in a hot minute as Take K begins his race out of the pen. And this whole sequence is nothing less than poetry in motion, homies. Fella got possessed by the spirit of Mugen and Spike Spiegel, disarms the poor chud in front of him and steals a strap, then proceeds to hardcore parkour his way out the top of the prison and into freedom. I can't believe I failed to mention it earlier, but the anime animators on this bad boy are Studio Mappa. You already know how they get down. And let me tell you, they put their chops to work heavily in this one. The fluidity of State Property Kun's movements is absurd. The choreography of the brief skirmishes made the battle manga nerd in me scream like a small child. Then you add the jazz soundtrack with the saxophone screaming in the back, and it took me back to being a kid and seeing Cowboy Bebop for the first time on Adult Swim. A film that I never thought I would get to run back, and even if the rest of Lazarus turns out to be a dud, I'll remain thankful for that moment. As Big Homie makes his way out of Shawshank, Waller is left in disbelief, realizing for the first time that she really may have underestimated her prey as she chops it up with ASAP Rock, who tells her that with the police track record here in the States, her little test subject could very much be Swiss cheese by this point. Waller's quick to correct him though, telling him that the newest Arkham escapee may be a lot of things, but bitch ain't one of them, and she knows for a fact that it ain't a beat cop alive out here bringing that man in. During all this commotion, we get some insights into how the General Pop is doing, and as y'all may have guessed, it ain't great. Fellas out here praying, rioting, the government scrambling like crazy for a cure, straight purge vibes. The next scene got me quite a bit as well though, where Convict Kun is now effectively made at the street level and gets ran up on by a cop who notices his current get up is mighty peculiar. Fella's charisma stat is off the charts though, and he convinces law enforcement homie that his drip is the newest in streetwear fashion and ain't a crime yet to have that shit on. Cop is like, damn, say less, realizing how much of a hater he was coming across as. Seconds later, homie gets an APB about an escaped convict named Axel Gilberto, who for some weird reason looks mighty familiar. But by the time Big Man can backtrack, Gilberto already traded that convict drip for something a little more comfy and was on the next train out of Babylonia City. In the next transition, we learn a little bit more about Amanda Waller, aka Hersch Lindemann's intentions. Right now, she's looking to secure the final member of her Suicide Squad.
Well, we consider that term degrading. The official term is Task Force X.
Considering the brilliance of Dr. Skinner and the short time to act, getting a mass-produced cure for Hopna really ain't even on the table. So in order to give humanity a chance, they need to track down Skinner, and no ordinary team is going to be able to do it. We then turn to Gilberto and find that this brief moment of peace was cut short when the feds sent out an Amber Alert to all electronic devices about Axel's escape from Alcatraz, and so the race began anew. We get treated to yet more Mappa animation eye candy. These Axel parkour sections are so expertly choreographed, homies, that it's hard not to glaze it every time it comes. It reminds me of watching some of those classic Jackie Chan films and just marveling not only at the physicality, but the environmental storytelling and the adventure those sequences manages to take you on each time. The episode heads towards its climax as the domesticated Suicide Squad members put their heads together and ASAP Rock is able to corner Axel low on the roof. Knowing much better than to try to box with this nutcase, Rock starts removing the safety from his gun when Axel does the unthinkable and jumps off the roof with no apparent regard for the sanctity of his human body. Mid-flight though, he manages to grab onto a drone and rides that bad boy to ground level, ready to embrace the sweet, sweet taste of freedom. Right before he's out of the woods, a blonde baddie approaches and this spells the beginning of the end. She wraps the homie Gilbert up quick, spitting some game about how she liked that street performance and needed a photo for the gram, then puts his ass to sleep in the middle of the street. When Big Homie comes to, he's greeted by Amanda Waller and the rest of the Suicide Squad.
Behold the voice of God.
Who give him his badge, gun, and welcome him to the team. And that, homies, is the first episode of Lazarus. Watanabe has a knack for making anime that even folks who aren't normally into the medium can get down with, and I feel that type of energy heavily with Lazarus. The soundtrack is gold, the premise is interesting, and the animation is the type of stuff we typically see reserved for film or TV finales. But what y'all think? For me, if it can stick the landing, Lazarus has the potential to be something folks talk about for a long time to come. But hey, if you locked in for this long, help a fella out and hit my YouTube buttons for the culture. Thank y'all for watching, man. Be easy, and I'll catch you again in the next video.